Welcome back to another episode of the Wednesday Silly Seasons. Today is Thursday, but anyway, unconfidential, so let's jump with the news first. If we can. Can we? Yes. So, criticisms against the F1 cars. Adrian Newey already raised his voice again. He's concerned that the current cars are already way too heavy, on a little bit above 800 kilograms per car. What does this mean? Well, you could see here why the criticism is being raised. Mick Schumacher already split the car twice this season, once in Jeddah, once here. According to drivers and engineers and everything, is that these cars are too heavy, so the impact energies are much higher than the cars that, for example, had a weight of 600 kilograms. Alonso already said that this should be a lesson to be learned. Perhaps everyone should take another path of making the cars lighter. Or anyway, voices are being raised against this. FIA should be taking notes of this. Daniel Ricciardo had some criticism from the CEO Zak Brown last week after the race of Barcelona. He's being clearly outpaced by Lando Norris for another season. This time, Andreas Seidel, which is the team boss or manager, is trying to give him a hand or a lift or push or whatever by saying that the team will keep working hard with him to try to fix the issues that he has. The issue that he has with the McLaren is that he's not comfortable with the car. He's not able to drive it naturally to the pace he likes, to brake where he likes, to turn the car the way he likes, or instinctively how he would do it. So this is something that he said already last season, and despite the win race in Monza, he did nothing. He's clearly outpaced by Norris, who actually does drive the car properly. So this is his main problem. Whoever comes to replace him will have the same issue if he's not able to drive the car properly. We saw, for example, this in other teams like Red Bull with Gasly and Albon and Perez last year, where he was not able to drive the car as fast as Max Verstappen, for example. Does that mean that they are not as fast as Max Verstappen? Well, look at Perez. Perez last year was clearly outpaced by Max Verstappen, and this year he is already fighting for wins. So it's not that they are bad drivers. Everybody in F1 is a really good driver. It's just that the car, sometimes it's made for one driver, or it's made in a certain way that some drivers adapt and go fast and some drivers don't adapt and cannot go fast. He adapted to the Red Bull really well, while Vettel, for example, didn't. Or Kvyat, for example. So that's his biggest issue, and he really stays in F1. He will have to go to a team where he can drive it properly, or he will have the same issue. Some voices are being raised against the FIA after the Monaco Grand Prix. Let's not forget, the race start was delayed because of an electrical issue with the starting procedure. However, it was also stated that it was delayed because of rain. It was raining, and despite the the race being started under the rain, it was red flag after 1 or 2 laps because there was too much rain. The voices also criticize that the F1 is damaging the image of the sport. They have 2 sets of tires, intermediates and wet tires. Wet tires are in theory able to evacuate a huge amount of water off the track. So if they have those tires, why don't they use them? Why don't they race? When they were racing with those tires in the beginning of the race, those tires were already way too hot. So it doesn't make any sense. Also, Carlos Sainz and other drivers are complaining about the inconsistency still applying the penalties. For example, Ocon with a racing incident with Hamilton got a 5-second penalty. Max Verstappen for stepping on the white line didn't get the penalty. Carlos Sainz got obstructed by Nicolas Latifi when he was trying to fight for the win, and that's why in theory he lost the lead of the race, but didn't get a penalty for that, Latifi. So lots of complaints about that. Masi got criticized. He got fired after the pressure from Mercedes of getting in favor of Max Verstappen, not only in the last race but also in previous races like Brazil or Jeddah or others, where Verstappen got away with many actions that were kind of black flagable, or at least it's like a penalty for like 5 seconds or drive-throughs or this kind of stuff. Like the one in Brazil, I thought it was extremely nasty and nothing happened. So anyway, these are voices. Looks like in the FIA, according to inside sources, there was some fight during the Monaco Grand Prix. Some wanted to start the race under the rain, some didn't. The safety car didn't go out to make some reconnaissance, recognition of the racetrack. during the rainy conditions to see how the track is. They didn't do that. So why? There are two guys in the FIA this season replacing Massey, and looks like the problem was not just Massey, it's the FIA per se, like the procedures or their codes of conduct or whatever, the way they take decisions is already kind of either obsolete or it needs some upgrade, or something is happening with the FIA that clearly means that drivers are lost because some things get penalties, some things don't get penalties. They don't know. So this is something that is happening. When Domenicali, CEO or the new boss of the F1 and Liberty Media, for example, was asked in a Q&A about a possible 11th team entering the F1, he stated that the F1 is right now very healthy. He has a boost on the economy, boost on the fans, the merchandising, the popularity of the sport is very healthy right now. Netflix, for example, helped a lot in countries like in the USA to get the sport to be known. So according to his idea is that 10 teams is the ideal amount of teams for the F1 right now. Teams do not have loans, the economy is healthy, F1 is healthy. Does he close the door to 11 teams? Let's not forget, Andretti is applying for an F1 spot in 2024. He doesn't close the door. He says it's possible. However, right now, the team and the sport as it is, it's okay. It's good. It's as best as it has been in recent years, and recent years should be 2014 when the hybrid era started, and the extreme domination of Mercedes damaged the image of the sport quite a lot. So it's not the door closed. However, let's not forget also that all the other 10 teams in the grid have to agree for an 11th team to come in, because the prize is going to be divided into 11 pieces, not 10. So every team will get less money out of that. Are they okay with that? Maybe the current budget cap could help to welcome an 11th or a 12th team. Apparently there are teams that are applying for an F1 spot. However, looks like in the short term, in the next couple of years, might not be happening, even though Andretti is kind of advanced in that. Christian Horner keeps fighting for the budget cap. There were meetings with the FIA and the teams held in Monaco as well to try to increase the budget cap this year due to, they call it force majeure, which is the logistic inflation that is increased 4 times, for example, as Horner said. Ferrari and Mercedes, which are in theory the top spending teams, are with him in this fight. However, this to be changed, it's not just the FIA says, okay, like all the teams must agree for this to be changed. And there are 2 teams that do not agree, Alpine and Alfa Romeo. Alpine boss Saf Neuer said that the budget is designed for an F1 team, for example, in November, December the previous year. So they already foresaw this. They already saw the inflation in UK, for example, where most of the teams have their base on the RPI was 7% or something like this, 7.1, 7.2. So this was already in the calculations that they did, for example. So for them, it's not a force majeure. It's just that people did their job badly. Alfa Romeo team says that instead of spending so much money in development of the car, for example, and bringing so many updates, at some point you will have to stop and you will just have to keep going with the car that you have. Horner says this is not the issue. It's not about bringing parts to the races or not. It's more about, as he says, the inflation, the current situation of the market. They will not be able to be there. If I am not mistaken, teams are allowed to go over the budget cap, but there will be a penalty for that. And I don't know if it's applied in F1 because I didn't read it so far anywhere. But in any NBA, I think somebody wrote it somewhere that, for example, if the budget cap is like 100 million, if somebody spends 20 million more, they will also have to pay 20 million that they spent on giving this money to the rest of the teams in the sport. So this actually has a double thing that is good. 1, you penalize the teams that are spending over the cap, and 2, you are giving money for teams that actually did manage to stay in the cap of the budget. So teams like perhaps are not as healthy economically as Red Bull, Mercedes, or Williams, or Ferrari. Williams has Alfa Romeo, like the poor teams. Alfa Tauri perhaps would have some reward for actually meeting the the limitations of the sport. Red Bull had a budget of 300 million last year, for example. So spending 20 million, 160 million means they have to pay 20 million more to the other teams. I don't think Red Bull is gonna care so much. Porsche is coming to the F1 as long as Audi. We already mentioned this. 2026 we'll see an engine standard change in the F1. There will be some regulations changing for that year. So Audi and Porsche will be coming to the sport. We already mentioned that Williams, in theory, are talking with Audi for a possible cooperation, like as they did with BMW, and hope to go back to the front of the pack. And looks like Porsche might be dealing with Red Bull, for the words of Christian Horner. They are welcoming them. Maybe they will have a partnership. It's too early yet, but for sure they will be eager to sit with them and see what is going to happen. Red Bull right now is being powered by Honda as Red Bull powertrains. Honda exited the sport. In theory, they are not giving their full support for the engine development. However, they are giving some support on the engine data and everything, so Red Bull can develop the engine on their own. So Porsche, being a manufacturer of engines, could be very well coming to a association with Red Bull for 2026 and on. And the last news of the day, Perez extended his contract with Red Bull for another 2 years. Everybody thought that perhaps he was not going to be staying in Red Bull much longer, after especially last season where he didn't do much except for a couple of races, like in Azerbaijan, where he won thanks to Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton having mistakes or problems with the cars. Or in Abu Dhabi, for example, where he, for me, didn't do much in the end of the result of the race, just made Hamilton lose some seconds. However, this year with new cars, it looks like he is able to race as fast as Max Verstappen. So after Barcelona, after Jeddah, for example, where he was fighting for the win, except for that safety car, after Monaco especially, he has some reward and he will stay in the team for another 2 years. Red Bull has a kind of a strong pair right now, Verstappen and Perez. Verstappen is the number one driver, nobody can dispute that. So he is gonna be there. What does this mean? Let's check for the silly season news. Silly season. Anyway, let's check the market for the silly season first. What are the status? The first three teams, Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari, they already have drivers for next season. Mercedes will have contracts ending for both drivers in 2023. Hamilton could retire after that. His objective is the 8th title, so he can be the most renowned driver in the F1 history. However, right now, Mercedes is not in a place to fight for the victories. So if he doesn't achieve it in 2023, could he keep going for like one extra season, or will he give way for other drivers? Russell for sure is going to continue in Mercedes next season and beyond next season. He's a Mercedes driver, and he's so far outpacing Lewis Hamilton with the current car. So Russell for sure is going to continue. Verstappen has a long contract with Red Bull for 50 million each year, and Perez just renewed. Leclerc and Sainz are both signed after Sainz renewed the contract as well. So what does the rest of the grid look like? Norris has a multi-year contract as well. There is not disclosure on how long it is, so we will assume it's like 2025 or 2026. Ricciardo has contract for next season, but everything points that he will not be there next season. Ocon has a 2-year contract. Alonso is the last year, and he's a lot of in the eye of the hurricane of all silly season rumors. Gasly has a contract with AlphaTauri for next season, but also points that he will not be there anymore after Perez renewed his contract. Tsunoda, his contract is finished. However, his performance is quite improved since the last season, and Red Bull will be continuing with him. Everything points at, unless he starts screwing again. Vettel is the last year contract in his team, and looks like he is going to be saying goodbye to F1 after all these seasons. He has some other ideas in his head. He's already old. He already made a heap amount of money, so he's gonna be there. Lance Stroll has a contract ending here as well, but he's the owner's son, so nobody doubts that he will continue there, and as long as Lawrence Stroll is the owner of the team. Bottas has a long contract with Alfa Romeo. Everybody was pulling their hair in the beginning when this was announced. However, looking how well he's performing with the Alfa Romeo, I think nobody is saying anything right now. Guan Yu Zhou has a contract for 1 year only. He's the only rookie in the grid, and looks like his performances are not convincing Alfa Romeo so far, even though he had some DNFs, not because of his fault, but hydraulics or engine power unit issues. So the season will have to go on and see if Zhou can stay close to Bottas, for example, towards the end of the season, to see if he will be replaced or not. Zhou is an Alpine Academy driver, so anyway. Albon has a 1 year contract with Williams. He belongs to Red Bull, so looks like due to reasons he might not be continuing there, even though Williams might be quite happy to continue with him. Latifi is already done for. Sofina is not as important for Williams anymore, and he's causing a lot of accidents. He's really outperformed by his teammates, so looks like it's kind of guaranteed that Latifi will not be there. Schumacher also is another guy in the eye of the hurricane right now. Haas might be looking for a replacement for him, and Magnussen has a 2-year contract signed, so next year also will be driving for Haas team. So what are the season rumors? The first 3 teams have already locked, so what are the other teams looking like? Haas might be looking for a replacement for Mick Schumacher. Looks like his constant accidents might be the main reason. It's the second year. Schumacher usually is a second-year driver. He did it in F3, and he won it in the second year. He won the F2 in the second year as well. So people are expecting him to start performing this year. If you look at the previous races, for example, there were some races where he was already performing at the pace of Magnussen, like in Miami. He was going to score points when Magnussen couldn't, until he had that crash. But the accidents in Jeddah and Monaco are costing expectedly like around $2 million to Haas just in repairs. So looks like Gunther Steiner and the Haas owner Gene Haas are not very happy with him in this sense, and they might be looking for a replacement. Who could be the replacement? Let's not forget, Mick Schumacher is a Ferrari Academy driver. He has a contact with Ferrari. Does this influence Haas? In theory, no. However, Haas does have a benefit of having a Ferrari Academy driver on their team. The engines that they get supplied have a discount. If they sack Schumacher and they bring somebody else, which means that Haas will have to pay the entirety of the engine to Ferrari. Also, they buy other parts. However, anyway. So who would be going there? Other Ferrari Academy drivers like Robert Schwartzman, for example, are not able to race due to their citizenship. He's Russian. Callum Ilott is in IndyCar. Looks like he's very happy there. Giovinazzi looks like his time in F1 might be over unless it's like a fill-in emergency. So who could be there? Other Ferrari Academy drivers like Leclerc's brother are in F3, so they don't have the super license and they are not able to jump into F1 right now. So the only available driver that does not belong to any driver academies and is performing well in F2, for example, is Felipe Drugovich. He's the current leader. He's performing extremely well. He's winning races Saturday and Sunday with a reverse grid. So looks like he could be one of the main options to replace Mick Schumacher in the Haas team. So what would be the options to Mick Schumacher? Vettel will be retiring 99% after this season, and Aston Martin were rumored to be looking for an experienced driver like Fernando Alonso. However, it looks like they changed the wind and they are looking for young drivers. So who could be? They want someone German so they can increase their influence in the market of Germany for Aston Martin. Of course, Mick Schumacher with the family name would be the obvious choice. He could maybe be behind Lance Stroll, which would be the team bosses or the owners' idea. The other option would be Nico Hülkenberg. However, in his con is that he has been out of the F1 for 2 or 3 seasons already. So it's not ideal to choose Nico Hülkenberg. However, he is the reserve driver. He knows the car, so he could be also an option. Everything points that Mick Schumacher will be replacing Sebastian Vettel in Aston Martin. What does this mean for other drivers, for example? Alfa Romeo. If Joe does not keep up the game or increase his game, looks like he will be sacked for Theo Pourchaire, who is actually performing very well in F1, F2. I think he's second in the championship, if I'm not mistaken. And he is a Sauber Academy driver, which means he will be joining the team as a part of their investment on him. So this could be one of the rumors also confirmed after the second half of the season. McLaren, we already talked about this before. Ricciardo looks like he's counting days off McLaren team. Pierre Gasly, after Perez renewed the contract, looks like he will be looking for an exit of the Red Bull family. And the most according team for that would be McLaren. It's kind of like a front runner, or they are expected to be a front runner, if not at the end of the season, next season, if they can solve the issues with drag and braking temperature that they have right now. Gasly is a fast driver. He didn't perform in Red Bull, and Christian Horner says that he cannot handle pressure. However, there was also another criticism made by Helmut Marko, is that Gasly was not able to drive the car as Verstappen did, and he was trying to change the car into more of his driving style, and he got extremely criticized inside the team for that. He got many reprimands for that. He was not able to drive the car the way it was. So he was not able to adapt it. He was trying to adapt the car. They sacked him for Albon. He had the same problem with that. They not fired him. They replaced him with Sergio Perez, which in theory was a more experienced driver, and he had the same issue as the other two. Perez was able to win one Grand Prix in Azerbaijan and did something in Abu Dhabi to Hamilton, making him lose some seconds that perhaps Hamilton could have used when that safety car came in and put some new tires. We don't know. However, this year he's able to drive the car as fast as Verstappen, for example, which means that the Red Bull is drivable, or more drivable than the previous seasons, for example. So anyway, he will be leaving the AlphaTauri team for sure right now after Perez renewed the contract, and McLaren is the most probable destination. McLaren also CEO said before, and I mentioned this before as well, is looking to bring an American driver, could be Pato O'Ward, which is from Mexico by the way, or Colton Herta, son of the other Herta that won IndyCar championships, which is the younger of the two. They will be participating in the young tests during mid-season and after the season, where young drivers like Alonso, same joke twice, anyway. They will be participating there. I think it's perhaps too early to jump into F1. However, this could be less probable options. Gasly is number one so far. What do we have? Williams. Latifi is done for. His days are counted, and if it's not mid-season, it will be at the end of the season. Nick De Vries will be the chosen one, thanks to also his partnership with Mercedes family. Nick De Vries will be jumping into the Williams car next season. It's almost confirmed. What will happen with Albon? Albon is also in the last contract with Williams. However, he has contract with Red Bull. The most probable option is that Gasly will leave AlphaTauri and Albon will join AlphaTauri once again. Like, Williams is at the back of the grid. Williams are very happy with Albon. However, Albon prefers to be fighting for something else rather than last positions. Who will come here? If Alonso renews the improbable contract with Alpine, Piastri will be the other driver in Williams. However, if he doesn't come, there are not many drivers that would be joining Williams, or there are no names related to Williams right now. Perhaps Hülkenberg or any other young driver, perhaps Wang Yu Zhou, or we don't know yet. Ricciardo, I extremely don't think he will go back to the back of the grid when he was trying for HRT. So this is standing like that right now. In AlphaTauri, Gasly probably will leave. The most logical option would be that Albon returns to AlphaTauri. Why? The two young drivers that are ready to jump into the Red Bull are Liam Lawson and Yuri Vips. Yuri Vips already tested for the Red Bull car in Barcelona. However, they are not performing as expected in the F2 so far. In theory, Liam Lawson was expected to be a contender for the title, as was supposed to be Yuri Vips. They are not. So perhaps they will be kept in F2 for another season and see if they can bring the championship home to Red Bull. So Alexander Albon will be the most probable choice. Alpine, well, at the beginning, as I mentioned before as well, looked like it was a done deal with Alonso. However, Alonso, from inside and close circle rumors, was that he wanted to leave Alpine. Why? Alpine has a medium long-term plan to go back into the front of the grid. Teams do not just jump 1 second gap difference in pace from the night, from overnight. So Alonso doesn't have a lot of time. He's already 40-41. He will be looking to try to go into the front of the grid. The only options would be Ferrari, Red Bull, and Mercedes, which are closed. McLaren looks like doesn't want him back. They want someone younger that could stay with the team for a longer time, as does Aston Martin. Alpine also looks like he's having the same plan. They have Piastri, who's not competing this year. He really needs to be competing so soon. It was Williams in the beginning, but after it looks like Alonso is not so happy with the team anymore. Then the team knowing this, looks like they are going to end ways at the end of this season. So Piastri would be replacing Alonso for 2023 alongside Ocon. And that is the news so far. Usually, as I always say, these things are starting to get confirmed in the Belgian Grand Prix or forward towards the end of the season. However, I will keep you updated every Wednesday with what's happening, news, rumors, blah blah blah. As per usual, take it easy. See you next Wednesday.